So if you saw my last video, I started to recap all of the hiking, search, and rescue stories that happened in New Hampshire in 2024. My original plan was to have all of the stories in one video, but unfortunately there's just too many and I couldn't fit them. So I asked if you guys wanted me to continue this series, and the feedback was very positive. You do want to hear more stories, and I'm glad you're enjoying them. So this is part 2 of recapping all of the New Hampshire hiking, search, and rescue stories, starting at the beginning of June. On June 1st, a hiker was hiking the popular Franconia Ridge Loop with his dad. They were about 2.3 miles into the hike when the son suffered a potentially life-threatening medical emergency. The dad called 911 at 9:15 in the morning, and the New Hampshire National Guard responded to this rescue with their Black Hawk. The helicopter got to them 2 hours later, and they were able to hoist the hiker up into the helicopter and get him to the hospital. It is noted that these were experienced hikers, that they have done this loop before. They had the right gear, they were prepared, and they had their New Hampshire Hike Safe cards, so it's really unfortunate that this had to happen. On May 31st, a hiker camped overnight in the Kearsarge Fire Tower. The next morning at around 6:30, she was descending the trail back to her car when she slipped and suffered a leg injury. Conservation officers responded and started hiking up to her at 7:44 in the morning. When they got to her, they determined that she needed a rescue litter to be carried down off the trail. So they carried her down and got back down around 11:30 in the morning. It is noted that because she was prepared and because she had the right gear for this hike, that it allowed the weight for this rescue to be a little more comfortable for her. On June 3rd, there was a hiker on Mount Monadnock suffering from heat-related complications. This hiker got lucky because there was actually a group from the Upper Valley Wilderness Response Team that was training on the mountain at the same time and were able to help assist with this rescue. They got to this hiker very quickly because of that, and they were able to start carrying her down. It is noted that even though this hiker was prepared for the hike, it's really important to consider environmental factors when planning your hikes because, like I said, this hiker had suffered from heat-related complications. This next rescue happened on June 8th on Jennings Peak. A hiker was descending the mountain around 1 p.m. when he fell and ended up breaking his fibula in 2 spots. Over 30 rescuers responded to this call, and they carried this hiker down the remaining 3.5 miles of trail. I actually saw a comment online from the hiker that got rescued thanking everyone involved with the rescue, which is nice. He was an avid hiker. He said he hiked all the way from New Hampshire to Alaska, and his injury unfortunately probably needs surgery. I know the story is from like half a year ago, but I hope he's recovered at this point and hiking again. On June 10th, there was an 18-year-old hiker on Mount Monadnock who took a fall near the tree line and was suffering from potentially life-threatening injuries. Mountain Patrol Rangers got to this hiker first and were able to stabilize him. They carried him down the trail back to the Monadnock headquarters where he was able to get help. It did say that this was his first hike, but he was also prepared for it. On June 22nd, a very experienced hiker and trail runner unfortunately suffered from a leg injury on the Wild River Trail, about 5 miles from the Wild River campground. There were washouts on the road to this campground, which made it difficult to get to. I believe rescuers had to utilize ATVs to get to the campground. This hiker actually ended up being able to make her way out of the woods herself and met the officers at the campground, where she got a ride back to her car because that was parked at a different trailhead. On June 25th, a hiker suffered a leg injury on Mount Monadnock. She was a little less than a mile away from the park's headquarters, so some staff went up to assist her. They were able to splint up her leg. She tried hiking out on her own. She got about half a mile and then needed to be carried the rest of the way. On June 25th, a hiker fell on Old Bridal Path in Franconia and suffered a leg injury. She was about 2 miles away from the trailhead, so rescuers got to her, put her in a rescue litter, and carried her the 2 miles back. This is another rescue where I actually saw a comment from the person who got rescued themselves online. This lady used to be a backpacking guide out in Colorado and actually helped with search and rescue missions herself. So on June 29th, New Hampshire Fish and Game received an SOS alert from someone's Garmin InReach device with coordinates that led to the Webster-Jackson Trail. This was the only information they had because they weren't able to get in contact with the person who registered this Garmin device. Rescuers went to the trailhead near the coordinates and actually found the person who hit the SOS button there. He said that his hiking partner was 1.8 miles up the trail and was way too tired and weak to continue hiking down. Rescuers went up to assist this hiker. They gave him Gatorade and food and a headlamp and helped him back down the remaining 1.8 miles, but it was extremely slow going. It was torrential rain, and it took them 6.5 hours to go the 1.8 miles back to the trailhead. This hiker did have the appropriate gear for the hike, but he was 70 years old. He had not been hiking in quite a long time, so this hike was maybe a little too challenging for his ability level. I have a little baby in my arms who wants to help me thank the sponsor of this video, which is Element. Can I have that back? Can I have it? Element is a electrolyte drink mix that comes in this single serving packet that you can add to water for the perfect hydration. One stick of Element contains a science-backed formula of sodium, potassium, and magnesium that your body needs to stay hydrated. I always take a pack of Element with me on a hike just for peace of mind. Symptoms of dehydration can include muscle fatigue, weakness, and headaches. Sometimes getting a headache or a migraine on trail can be really scary for me because I can't think clearly, I can't see clearly, and it can be pretty dangerous. So Element has just come in handy so many times. I am always hydrated on my hikes because of this. If you want to give it a try, you can head to my link, which is drinkelement.com/Nahamsha. When you do that, you actually get a free sample pack of 8 different flavors with your order. Whether it's your first order or your 100th order, you will get that sample pack if you use my link. The link is also in the description of this video, and thank you, Element, for sponsoring. On June 29th, a hiker on the Appalachian Trail, Kinsman Ridge to be exact, suffered a serious but non-life-threatening injury to her leg. Now, this rescue went on throughout the entire night. The initial call went in at 5 p.m. and they didn't get her out of the woods until 5 o'clock the next morning. The Pemi Valley Search and Rescue Team hiked 2.9 miles on the Real Brook Trail and then traversed 2.5 miles on the Kinsman Ridge Trail to get to this hiker to carry her out. They put her in a rescue litter and spent the entire night carrying her out of the woods. On June 29th, a hiker on Mount Major accidentally dropped her glasses off the edge of a cliff. She tried to go down and find them herself, but she couldn't. And then she tried to descend the mountain, but when she realized she wasn't on the same trail that she used to get up the mountain, she called 911 for assistance. A local search and rescue team was able to use their 6x6 utility vehicle to go up the mountain and look for her. They located her about a quarter of a mile from the summit and assisted her back down. New Hampshire Fish and Game says one of their busiest times for hiking rescues is 4th of July. So these next 4 stories all happened on the same day. The first 4th of July story happened on the Lonesome Lake Trail in Franconia when a 15-year-old boy was suffering a medical emergency. Crews got to him very quick and they were able to carry him off the trail and into an ambulance, and it only took around half an hour. The second 4th of July story also happened in Franconia. There was a hiker on the Lincoln Slide, which is an unmaintained trail. He suffered a lower leg injury. Him and his hiking partners tried to bushwhack themselves back to a maintained trail, which was the Lincoln Brook Trail. Their rescuers met up with him and assisted with the carry down until they got to an ATV, which could assist the rest of the way back to the trailhead. At 1:30 p.m., the third 911 call came through. This was in the same general area, so a New Hampshire conservation officer was actually taken off the last rescue to assist with this one. This hiker fell on a steep and wet portion of the Falling Waters Trail next to a river. Some other hikers passing by were assisting this lady back to the trailhead. When rescuers got to her, they administered some more first aid and continued helping her off the trail. And finally, the fourth rescue call of the day came in just before 2 p.m. There was a hiker on the AZ trail that fell, suffered a leg injury, and wasn't able to bear weight on it anymore. So when this happened, her hiking partner tried to call 911 but didn't have enough service. So her hiking partner ended up having to hike to the summit of nearby Mount Tom, and she was able to make the call go through there. Again, a New Hampshire conservation officer was pulled off of the last rescue to come and assist with this one. Rescue crews were able to be put together, and within 2.5 hours, they reached the hiker and started carrying her down off the trail. She had to be carried 2 miles and made it back to the trailhead around 7:30 p.m. So all of these rescues happened between June 1st and July 4th. It's a very short time span, but I am going to end this video here again so it doesn't get too long. It seems like you are enjoying these recaps based on the comments of my last video. So again, let me know if you want me to continue on for the rest of the year. I don't know how many search and rescue stories there are. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through them, but I'm just going to go video by video as long as you guys are interested. So thanks for watching, and huge shout out to everyone involved in these search and rescue missions. It seems like it was a very busy time for you. I hope everyone has a happy and safe New Year's. Bye.